So if you want to be able to play at a high level but can't afford it, why wouldn't you go play with grown men for 3 or 4 months? We played in the under 19 bracket, probably in the Navy division, which is like, halfway up. Um, we ended up being competitive in all 3 games, probably should have won 2 of the 3. And I had kids who were 15 on the team, kids from 15 to 18 on the team, playing in the U19 bracket against 2 ECNL teams and an ECRL team.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Inside Scoop. My name is Neil Crawford. I'm your host and also the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. This is an interview that I've been trying to put together for a few weeks because my guest, James Jordan, said a couple of things that really intrigued me. And I'm always thinking about ways, rightly or wrongly, that we can add value and reimagine youth soccer. And it's something you guys are doing instead of just talking about it. Something that you're doing, James, that our guests are going to be very interested in learning more about. So I've said your name a couple of times. My guest today is James Jordan. James, you're the founder of River City Football Club, and it plays in the UPSL Division One league, I guess you'd say, or organization within this whole youth soccer landscape. So I want you to introduce yourself really quickly. And then my first question is going to be, help our newer parents and our international listeners get their heads around the landscape of U.S. soccer and how the UPSL fits in. And I see you laughing. You're going to be like, how long do you? I thought you wanted to interview.
That's tough.
I got to go get my white. I'll be right back. Let me get my whiteboard. All right. So James, introduce yourself.
So yes, my name is James Jordan. I am the founder and president and head coach of River City Football Club. We play in the UPSL, which is a not fairly new, but it's been around for at least 8 years now. But it's really getting big. You're going to see it a lot more in the youth landscape, quite honestly, and that's really why I jumped into it about 3 years ago.
All right. So let's go to night school. Let me tee it up, and then you tell me the rest.
Okay.
I know in our country we have MLS. No, actually, let me go even further back. And we're really mainly going to talk about the men's. We may talk about the women's a little bit, but even then it's a little bit different. So let me go even a step further. Yeah, let me go a step further. We have professional men's leagues in this country, and we have quote unquote amateur or non-professional or semi-professional leagues in this country. Is that a true statement?
Very true.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. So we got the highest professional league that we have is MLS, Major League Soccer. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that also the highest for women?
That would probably be the USLW for women.
Okay. So USLW for women, MLS for men. Okay. And then under MLS is the championship.
I wouldn't even I'd probably skip one because now there's MLS Next Pro.
Oh, okay. So then under that is MLS Next Pro.
Yep.
Okay. Now we're not going to talk about the women yet. Maybe we'll give a quick overview of the women, but I don't know how much if you know a lot about it, then we could expand on it. We're just having a conversation. And then the championship, huh?
Yes, and then it goes down the championship. The women's side is a little bit. I am not as versed in that as I'd like to be, but it is. I'm familiar with the recruiting of them and the college ranks, and it's even that portion is different from the men.
All right. So now that I've said that, because I wanted to tee that up to make sure that we're on the same page about how dumb we got to make it. MLS, they just introduced MLS Pro, and then you can give some context as well, and then you have the championship. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now continue on with the blocking and tackling of the pyramid as you know it, and then I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions.
So once you get down past USL Championship, you're not paid no more. You're not playing quote unquote professional soccer. So now you're in what I see is called pre-professional. So that's where NPSL and the UPSL and USL2, that's where all those start falling into framework.
So so the MLS Pro Next Pro, to say it's higher than the championship can be a little bit more complicated because there's a little bit of market share stuff going on, right?
It really just depends.
It's not like U.S. soccer. Yeah, hold on. It's not like U.S. soccer said that this is going to be the pyramid. It's like MLS saying, "Hey, we're going to create this thing," right?
We're gonna make sure that we have a thing, is what they did. Right. So that is it. Kind of comes down to, are you a USL guy or an MLS guy? Because both have a lot of similarities, but when it comes down to breaking them down in terms of usage and players, they're actually really different.
So you could technically be on a USL championship team that is better than an MLS pro team. Not the top team. Sorry, the second.
MLS Next Pro, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to repeat that. You could be on so NCFC, for example, has a USL championship team. It's been well established.
Yeah.
They could be better than a MLS Next Pro team.
You could be like, if we wanted to compare like NCFC to Carolina Core, because that's the MLS Next Pro team up in North Carolina. So
Yeah.
I've watched them both play. It's a toss up.
Okay. So what was the official guidance that the MLS gave for MLS Next Pro?
So basically, they wanted to reach out into other markets and kind of start because to have an MLS Next Pro team, you got to have an academy. You got to have one, at least one in each age group of the academy from U12 to U17. Carolina Core skirted that. They only have U13, U15. But that is pretty much, you have to have 3 teams to start to be able to have that MLS Next Pro license. And they're basically using that as a way to make quote unquote homegrown players that they can just push up to whatever affiliate team they would like to. Now, when I say affiliate teams, some of these teams aren't. A lot of the MLS Next Pro teams are just like Orlando City 2 or Charlotte FC 2, right? But there are some who aren't affiliated with an MLS club like Carolina Core, who they will probably end up. I mean, they are, because Charlotte FC is so close to them, I can't imagine they're not looking at each other's players.
So being from this area, I know that they're still trying to figure out the relationship. And that's the most politically correct way of saying, they're not really thrilled about developing a player and then sending them to, say, Charlotte, from what I'm hearing from parents who are just, for all practical purposes, eavesdropping, and from parents who have children who have the potential to play in Charlotte. So this is not, and I actually don't begrudge anyone because it is a tiny bit complicated because we do have some compensation payment things going on, but it's not codified and it's probably not enough to get a real return on investment, because I know Carolina Core is a fully funded program. So until that's really codified and is really made clear, the solidarity payments, until it's really made clear, I can kind of see there being some friction there.
Right, 100%.
The next thing is, and being a little bit more cynical, do you think that MLS also wants to do away with USL or take over that and create a fully integrated league structure for them all, a pyramid of them all, for them all? I don't want to get you in any trouble anyways, Don't worry
Yeah.
about this. The only people watching this interview are me, you, and my mom. So don't worry about being quoted on CNN.
I really, I mean, I honestly think that isn't that the goal of any person who's a higher up in the league? They don't want to share. They want to eventually monopolize, and I mean that's just the nature of the business beast. Now, um, whether they have the ability to stifle USL down, I really don't think because people are always going to want to have options.
Yeah. So then now, so to put this part in a bow, and then we're gonna get to your story. Remind how does UPSL fit into this? And then what's the intersection? And oh, actually, one more administrative point, and I'm gonna ask that question. As far as MLS Next Pro, and you mentioned Carolina Core, is there an age limit, or is it sort? I know there's gonna be a age limit, like how young you can be. Can
Right.
you be too old?
I don't think there is an age limit. I think that especially with how they will pick up international guys. I mean, a lot of these guys have played professionally for a while, so they understand picking up a 30-year-old guy who's been playing professionally for 7 years in the second division in Spain is going to be better than picking up a kid fresh out of Duke, quite honestly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. All right. So yeah, so no, I totally get that. So the question I was gonna ask is let's put UPSL into its context again, to put it into a bow, and then the intersection between UPSL and youth soccer and even college recruiting and what all that means, especially in terms of eligibility to the extent that you know. Then we're gonna get into your story.
So I think UPSL is the low man on the totem pole. I always use this analogy. I think the UPSL is the Walmart to US youth club to US club soccer. I mean, I think everything about them, they're affordable, they streamline it, and they make it so that smaller teams can join something much bigger and it's still professional and still gives you a chance to play in the US Open Cup. And it just gives you all the bigger things that you could get from a well-run club, maybe in the NPSL or a USL two type team with a fraction of the cost. Quite honestly, is the big draw. Period. Point blank.
But so if I have I'm not gonna use soccer term, use this real age. If I have a junior in high school,
Mm-hmm.
can they play and they're good enough? They can play for a UPSL team.
100%.
So why? What is a story around why someone would play for a UPSL team instead of their quote unquote club team,
Well,
youth
number
club team?
could be that I mean, and well, I have to deal with this a lot. Our kids can't afford the prices to play ECNL, even ECNL RL. It's extremely pricey with the travel. So if you want to be able to play at a high level but can't afford it, why wouldn't you go play with grown men for 3 or 4 months?
Okay, so that makes sense. So ECNL, is going to be roughly 3,000 just to participate.
Hmm.
That's the games and the training and the uniform, and that's I'm being generous there.
Yeah.
And then you got to travel. You got to do all this travel and all these other ancillary fees because when you travel, you got to eat
You got to eat. You got.
all this stuff, and it's a lot of travel. The
Mhm.
showcases, you have the contribution to the coaches for their travel, so it's a lot of other hidden costs and baked in costs. They could easily get you to the 5,000. I mean, in California, you hear numbers like 10,000.
Oh,
And then we haven't even talked about if you have more than one child, and we're not even talking about additional training opportunities that if you're going to play at that level, you may engage in. So you're easily getting into the 7-10,000 range and not even being quote unquote crazy. So, and we haven't even talked about international trips so that your team may go on. So you're saying UPSL is a way for you, number one, to play with grown men. But how long is the season?
So we usually it usually starts probably the end of August and we'll go through the first weekend of December.
Okay, the end of August, first week. And then how often in general, you can tell about your specific club, but in general, how often do people practice?
Um, it usually, I mean, most teams. So the Division Ones teams, I don't know, at least twice a week. But we practice 3 times a week just because we try to replicate as much of a high level club as we can, right? So you're not getting that much better practicing twice a week, not at this level. So we got to go at
It,
least 3 times a week.
it name drop some clubs that you play against so our listeners, if they want to Google it and kind of get an idea of who you're talking about, name drop a few clubs that you play against.
We play against Mid Hill FC out of Charlotte. There's Boiling Springs United. They're a really good a new program from this fall, and they run really well. Um, who else? I mean, most of our teams we play are in North Carolina. Honestly, there's only 3 teams we play in South Carolina.
Oh,
Charleston is another one that we have a really good rapport with, and we play a good little bit outside of UPSL.
so okay, so then what happens in August to December? Then what happens in January until you get to August? What happens as far as your club is concerned?
So as far as my personal club, we only operate in the fall simply because I coach high school in the spring, and I do not have the capacity to do that and UPSL at the same time. And not to mention, half of my kids on my UPSL team are high school kids who will be playing high school in the spring. So in the
Oh,
spring,
okay, and that's kind of like how ECNL is, except for the academies.
yeah. So I mean, we will pick back up. We will do a tournament over spring break in April, trying to get the guys, just get everybody like, hey, we're gearing up, and then we pick right back up May 25th, and then we go till December.
So, so can a UPSL team on average beat an ECNL team?
Yeah.
And I don't mean I'm trying to so it's not, I want to frame that question to say it's not about winning in that regard. It's not about, I know that any given Sunday, any given day you can win. I'm trying to calibrate the level for someone who can't see it. So
So
it wouldn't be like a 10-0. The UPSL team, it wouldn't be lopsided either way in
no, I mean,
general.
let's put it this way. We just went to that college showcase in Raleigh, and we played in the under 19 bracket, probably in the Navy division, which is like halfway up. Um, we ended up being competitive in all 3 games. Probably should have won 2 of the 3. And I had kids who were 15 on the team, kids from 15 to 18 on the team, playing in the U19 bracket against 2 ECNL teams and an ECRL team.
So how are you carded? Is it carded through US Club Soccer?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so UPSL is I'm gonna make for like is a entity or that falls within you. You get the sorry, I'm messing up. US Club Soccer handles the registration and the insurance and all that kind of stuff.
For
And
tournaments.
just for tournaments.
Yes, UPSL has their own. We have our own insurance and all that stuff when we register.
But
When we go to
tournament,
showcases, we're just going as a tournament team, quote unquote.
is there age restriction on the tournament team in general?
We're always going to play in the under 19 bracket. So
Okay, so you just go by the tournament rules. If you have a 31-year-old, you're gonna play in the adult
no,
bracket.
no. We
Yeah,
we do go to one men's tournament, but we go to one men's tournament and then we go to 2 or 3 college showcases. So the guys like the gap year guys we get who are 19, 20, they still get some tournament play.
okay. So right before, I'm just so interested in this. So I gotta ask the obvious. If you're talking to a kid and they technically can afford ECNL,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like me, their parents are like their parents are like I am, where it's like, ugh, this is pricey. what is your quote unquote pitch, or at least things they should consider when thinking about the decision to do ECNL and the benefits that they could get from that to UPSL? And assuming the UPSL club in their area is well run and something that, passes all the major areas of concern that you would have with any club.
I always start off, I first off say that this isn't like regular club soccer. This isn't, you pay your fees and you go to the game and show up. We really do treat it like a family. And then that's the major difference. I make the boys, you got to do community service. You have to do volunteer work. There are skills programs that we run after school that they have to be a part of. So it's not just come to practice and we'll play. There's more to it than that. We do life skills shops. We have people come speak to them about mental health, how to take care of their bodies, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what I start off with. Then I said, and then we can get into the cost, which I give you one flat cost, and I'm not going to come back to you and ask for anything else for the next 6 months, 7 months. Um, Everything is up front, everything is very transparent, and you don't have to pay for anything if you don't want to. We take care of the food for the games, we take care of the travel for the games, and on top of the travel, we're never going to travel more than 4 hours unless we're going away to a tournament in Tennessee or something. So, we're cost effective, we're family run, and the last thing I say, come to a session, come to one of my sessions, and then let me know.
And can a player double dip? Can a player play for, say, a lower level club team because they can't afford ECNL and play with a UPSL team?
Multiple, just so because some of these kids are very loyal to the club they've been playing for. So a lot of kids, especially last season, they'd go to club practice and then they come to my practice. And I just make sure I say, hey, if you're gonna play club, that's got to come first because that's what you committed to first. That's fine. But if you can't, there's still repercussions on my end too. So if you can't come to practice, don't expect to play or be on the roster for that weekend. And everyone, as long as everyone knows that and up front, it's never been, it hasn't been an issue. I just like,
Right.
like, man, if you got enough to come to one practice and then come to mine, I'm with it.
Dude, there you go. So, guys, I sat down with James for River City Football Club, and he is the founder of River City Football Club. He's also the head coach, president, pretty much everything, mentor, college advisor. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Anything else?
And everything else. And we've had a quick conversation about UPSL and how it fits into the youth soccer landscape. And James, because this went a little longer, it is so informative, and there's so many people out there asking about UPSL. I'm gonna stop it now and make this his own little interview that we'll share. And then I'm gonna come back on and ask you about your background, your motivations, and what to expect. Guys, this has been Neil Crawford, founder of Anytime Soccer Trading. Let's get better together.